Hi, my name is Quinne, and in today's Write On, the first of a series on writing, I'll be covering my introduction and getting started with writing. My name is Quinne Darkover, and I have written 2 novels and a cookbook. All 3 are available on Amazon. I'm currently working on the 3rd book in the Steampunk series, The Captain and the Lady Fair. As I progressed in my writing, I kept learning about things I wish I'd known at the start. I decided I would do a series that I can refer new writers to when I meet them. This is the first in a series of videos which will cover many areas of writing to include getting started, outlines, clustering, pantsing, drafts, dialogue, narrative, action tags, adverbs, peer reviews, action scenes, editing, software, and more. Let's get started. First, and very important, coffee or tea by the pot. I have 2 pots, one for coffee and one for mint green tea. It is behind my chair at my workspace. Workspace. It is best if you have a place to do your writing, your own space that is not shared, where things can stay put. It helps with the frame of mind when sitting down to write that things are the same every time. I'll also get out and people watch, mingle around. You can pick up great mannerisms when watching people, especially if you're out having dinner to where you can really watch them for any length of time. I am going to touch on many of those items, then go more in depth today about outlines, clustering, and pantsing. My series is aimed at writing fiction, but first let me give you a list of rules about writing. And here it is. All the rules. Every one. All of them. The ones that you can get shot if you don't follow them. No rules. Let's just call them guidelines. You can use adverbs, passive sentences, and more. I would say if you're going to break rules, stay consistent. Now, having said that, there are some rules that you need to follow if you're going with a named publisher, because they have their own rules and don't care for rule breakers. They want writers that follow the rules. Each publisher is different, but most have guidelines on their site. You break the rules, your manuscript gets tossed in the reject pile. After you're a big name writer, you get to break those rules because they like to make money, and a big seller will do that for them. All right. You feel overwhelmed by the thought of the task involved in writing a book, hereafter called the work. Breaking down the task to smaller parts makes it easier. Jot down the ideas that spring to mind about the work, including places, characters, actions, and plot ideas. This may go to an outline form. Now, outlines brings me to plotters. Plotters outline or use clusters. Outlining. I think most people already know what outlines look like. Outlines are a numbered series of lines to show order of events or ideas and their relationships. If you do an outline in a word processor program, it's easier to add lines and rearrange. Now, the other choice is 3x5 cards. The cards can be rearranged as needed. Now, there's 2 points in doing an outline or cards: organizing thoughts and ideas into a story flow, and having a guide map to write from. There are software programs that can help create outlines and even clusters. Some are even free. Clustering. It's also known as webbing, mapping, or mind mapping. This is something that many people are not familiar with. Clustering is jotting down ideas on paper and drawing lines to indicate order or relationships. In appearance, it is a little disorganized. Let's see how it works. That's what it looks like. Now, I think J.K. Rowling is a combo of outline and cluster. It works for her, so why not? It does not matter if you use an outline, cards, or cluster. You can use a computer, whiteboard, index cards, note paper, even a flip chart easel with a huge pad and colored markers. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Pantsing. To be a pantser is sitting down and just writing out the story. No outline, no cluster, just typing the story that comes to mind. Sounds crazy, but there are many people that are pantsers. Dean Koontz and Stephen King are pantsers. The writer has the whole story from beginning to end in mind. Some only have the beginning and end and start writing and let their mind fill in as the story goes. My first book was that way. Some only have the beginning. My second book was that way. There's a gray area for pantsers that they may make a note of an idea or a scene that may come to mind later somewhere, and the note is so that they don't forget it. I don't call that really outlining or becoming a plotter. It's just, don't let me forget. Pantsers run a greater risk of writer's block, plot holes, dropped characters, and so on. So you really need to be careful if you're a pantser. What is writer's block? Writer's block is when your imaginary friends stop talking to you. Now, that's not as funny as it sounds. Some writers hear the voices of characters and write what they're saying. Some writers have the story in their head as a movie and write what they're seeing. Which way is best? Outline, cluster, or pantser? Well, the one that works for you, of course. Now, write. Sounds like dumb advice, but those early steps involved a good deal of thought. If using a cluster or outline, you dash down the story guided by that. The first result can be rough. Okay, maybe it even seems bad. That's fine. The first draft is not meant to be the next bestseller. It's to get the basic story down on paper so you can hammer and chisel out problems like dialogue, plot points, touch up characters, and add descriptions where needed. Now comes the coarse sandpaper, looking at adverbs, looking at passive sentences, incomplete sentences, dozens of paragraphs in a row that are only one-sentence paragraphs. Going through again with fine sandpaper, punctuation, quotation marks, consistent use of inner dialogue if used, word choice, and more. At some point, I suggest a complete printout, using line spaces so that you have room to make notes, or print single-sided so you have the blank side of the opposite page to make longer notes. Go through the printout backwards. Yes, backwards. Because you're looking at and touching paper, this takes you out of the mindset used at the computer screen. Even a different font and one size up helps change that mindset. Going backwards allows you to truly see each sentence for itself. Go slow and only work through 1 or 2 chapters a day. Otherwise, the brain gets tired of it, gets lazy, and misses things. This would also be a time to take that same draft, go forward, and use colored highlighters. One color for dialogue. You can use different colors for each character so you can see if the dialogue is consistent for that character. A color for narrative. Are there huge blocks of narrative that can be cut into smaller parts? Another color for info dump. Huge block? Cut it and spread it out. A color for action scenes. This lets us see if there are long sentences in the action scenes. Action scenes use shorter sentences to help convey quick, sharper action. Get peer review to have outside eyes notice the good and the bad. Now, a peer review can be a simple group that you've created. There are some websites like Meetup. I don't know what your area has, but every area has ways of contacting groups of similar interest. So you look for writers. Preferably writers that are writing what you write, whether it be fiction, poetry, nonfiction. You read your work to that group, or they read it to themselves, and then they critique it and give it back, telling you, does it flow well? How's the dialogue? How's the plot going? Is it interesting? Is there so much punctuation and grammar problems they can't read it? Whatever, you'll get feedback. They should also tell you what's good about it. They like the character, they really got hooked on the character that's your main character or a side character. They love the idea of the plot, they want to see where it goes. Those things help too. Now this is a simple introduction. The following videos will cover more in depth and many areas in writing. I will mention the freeware software programs that can help you to write. OpenOffice, LibreOffice, Evernote, FreeMind, ScriptMonkey, YWriter, and there's FreeWriter. Now that has a limited free version and the full pro version is $15. It doesn't say on their site whether that's a one-time cost or yearly, but $15 isn't bad, and it just appears to have a lot to it. I don't have it. I would suggest that no matter what system you use, keep information about your characters for an easy reference. Whether it be character sheets, index cards, an extra page document in your word processor, somewhere. This saves you from wading back through your entire work trying to remember whether the character had brown hair or yellow hair, pink hair, green hair, black hair, whatever. I'll go into more into covering cover sheets. Cover sheets, pardon me. I made it almost all the way through this without screwing up. But I'll cover character sheets later on and show you an example of one. You can make your own. You can go online and find examples. They may have more that you want to add, or you can take out. Until next time, write on.